everybody. So my name is Ondrej Kubik. I'm on devices field team. So I've been with Canonical over 10 years, embedded over 20 years. I've been doing embedded before we call it even IoT. So, and I'm on the team that typically would be the first team talking to you and the techie side of it. So today I will talk a bit more about our work with NVIDIA. So since we are talking more embedded, I'll be talking about Orin line. So that's typically would be your Jetson or AGX. That's the offering today. And we are partnering with NVIDIA now for some time, as Joe mentioned at the beginning. So those are on embedded side, those are the platform. The Orin is really first fruit of collaboration between NVIDIA and Canonical. You probably saw that Xavier before was running Ubuntu, but it was more like something that wasn't providing the experience Canonical and NVIDIA would really like to see. So we started from the scratch with Orin, and this is something that I want to present to you. We'll be not only focusing on NVIDIA, in general, our journey in IoT and what we can help you. So typically, if you start with NVIDIA, you're going to download your Jetpack. So here I just want to highlight some of the differences between Jetpack and Ubuntu. Because you would notice that the Jetpack is built on Ubuntu. There is a close collaboration, but it's really something as your development platform, the starting point. And even NVIDIA would tell you that if you really want to go for a production, Ubuntu is the professional OS that you should go for. So here are some main key differences between those two options. So obviously it's a distribution, one you get from NVIDIA, one you get directly from Canonical. The cadence, the updatability. It's typical for SoCs to have a cadence quarterly, so you're gonna get updates every 3 months. Versus us, our kernel is updated bi-weekly. We have a cadence 2 + 2 weeks, so every 2 weeks you're gonna get CVEs patched in your kernel. So we are really running at the bleeding edge of security patching here. LTS, you don't get LTS with Jetson, with a Jetpack. You download it today, it's gonna be Ubuntu 22.04. You download it tomorrow, it might be Ubuntu 20.04. There is no guarantee. You get what you get. We provide you 10+ years. Probably some of the speakers mentioned before, we can go all the way up to 12 years maintenance for you. Enterprise grade. Ubuntu Pro, you can purchase as a optional Ubuntu Pro. You get all those additional services that Gabriel mentioned before. Ubuntu Pro, I will brush about them, but I don't want to repeat what Gabriel already mentioned. But since you are on Ubuntu, you have the Pro option there. Partners program, we mentioned here before ODM programs. So we have ODM program, or we are enabling ODM program for partners. So you can get in the future, your NVIDIA supported by your AD links, Advantex, Eon, and so on. Public beta is available today, and it's really ready for development and enterprise ready. And that is just overview then, because I mentioned that here it's IoT, we're talking about Orin, but the reality is that with NVIDIA, we really walk across the board. So you have Ubuntu on your cloud, you have Ubuntu on your training, AI ML training. It's likely that if you're doing an AI training today, you're already using Ubuntu most likely. NVIDIA is using Ubuntu as an OS on their switches, so Bluefield, so on. Those switches are actually having at heart Ubuntu. Industrial edge, and we go all the way to the edge, so you really have the Ubuntu story all the way. Now here, the next part, I split it in 3 parts. So first thing, I really want to talk a bit more deep dive about Ubuntu on Orin and how we support Ubuntu on Orin. The next thing is I will talk a bit more how we have, as a Ubuntu, are supporting you on IoT. And the third part will be a bit more about specifically AI and what we can support you as a life cycle when you're working on those AI things, deployments. So what are typically your development challenges? So you need to build a team, you need to port the operating system. So you do your own design, now I need to port the operating system on it. Now I need to keep up with the BSP releases from my SoC vendors. So every 3 months, quarterly. Every 3 months you get new Jetpack. Now I have to rebase everything and rework it. And there is no guarantee that things do not change. You don't have, remember, you don't have LTS. It could be 2204 Ubuntu. Next time around, you have different version of Ubuntu. You have to rebase it. Now you are closing to the production, so you need a bit more standardized approach to it. So you need stability, not just moving target. You want to have a host of services or libraries that you want to leverage. So you don't want to write everything from scratch. You really want to have a library of, hey, I don't need this. I have this one here. So, and once you're done, you want that ongoing security support. You really want to just say, okay, I'm done here. Somebody can secure it for me. Can I move on? And can I start working on another product? So in order to get there, so we, as I mentioned, we partner with NVIDIA, and we can really split it in 4 parts. We integrate together with NVIDIA. So we integrate all the patches from NVIDIA. We integrate them in our kernel. We call it Ubuntu-NVIDIA Tegra. Tegra, probably some of you remember, is one of the, when NVIDIA started with ARM. So that forms NVIDIA Tegra kernel. Next thing, we integrating NVIDIA SDKs. We moving that in Ubuntu Archive. So you get all of that with your apt-get install. You have now things integrated in Archive. You know, once it's in Archive, we have that LTS commitment. We will support it for LTS terms, so 10 to 12 years. Next thing, us and NVIDIA, we do joint validation of it. We validate the components. Then we enable the certification, because we still want to avoid what happened with the Xavier, that this is still Ubuntu. Meaning, I take my NVIDIA hardware and snap install LXD, and it should work. Unlike on Xavier, where it was Ubuntu, but it sort of wasn't Ubuntu. There were things that didn't behave like Ubuntu. So when we say certified, it means it behaves like your Intel, your MediaTek, Xilinx. It's just Ubuntu, and it's very predictable. Now we get to that level, we start doing it in a cycle. So we apply CVEs. So now, internally, we're gonna recycle that every 2 weeks. In reality, 2 weeks is a security cycle. 4 weeks is when we do bug fixing and so on. And we repeat that. So you have this cadence from us, but it's backed up by joint venture between Canonical and NVIDIA, really testing on both sides. So what does that mean to you? As I mentioned, it just works. It's Ubuntu. It is full-fledged Ubuntu on your NVIDIA hardware. So it behaves like Ubuntu. You have the preloads from the distributor, so you can get then ODM hardware with Ubuntu on it, and it just works as Ubuntu. So you can go and download your applications. You have all that access to the ecosystem of Ubuntu. What is the OS that people most likely develop on and prototype on? Ubuntu. It's a #1 operating system for innovators. So you get all that access with that, and you have all that on-rails experience. And it's secure. Remember, we keep updating it every 2 weeks. So it's on Rails, it's secure, and it's enabled for the partners program. So with that, now moving a bit from NVIDIA, in general, what does Ubuntu offer you for IoT? So here we're gonna talk a bit more when we go embedded, because obviously Ubuntu, Joe mentioned, we are strong in a public cloud, private cloud. We most likely have most likely you're already using Ubuntu there. We are strong in containers, but what do we offer for IoT? So what does Ubuntu bring you if you start doing Ubuntu? So we have the Ubuntu Pro certification programs and so on. So we will dive a bit more into that. So what are typically your challenges? I'm talking now with the partners. You start doing hardwares, and your development team goes, hey, crazy, perfect. I'm going to do this new NVIDIA hardware. Oh, wow, that was fast. Now, which way I went?
Go back. Right.
Yeah, that's why I'm... Sorry for that. I guess we can edit that. Wow. Okay, I'm getting there. Wow, found it. Okay. Sorry for that. So your team you say, hey, I'm gonna do new hardware and it's gonna be on NVIDIA. And your team goes crazy and start designing everything from scratch. Can we do everything custom? Now you have another team and they want to do also NVIDIA. And you start fragmenting it because one team does that, another team does that. They don't talk to each other. And you have already a lot of trouble. People probably remember what happened to Android 10 years ago. Everybody forked it out, and 3 years later, oh, how do we maintain this? And now we have still a lot of those unmaintained Androids around, AOSPs. How do you then deploy the hardware? How do you stabilize it? Okay, perfect, I develop it. Did I develop it in a sustainable way? Can I maintain this for 10 years? Remember, those regulations are coming. How do I now, this is all working perfect, but those are some guys who did it in a lab. How do I maintain this for long term? What is then the user experience? And remember, the hardware is becoming more commodity. It's the software running on it. And you still need OS, but it doesn't make you different. So Gabriel, again, he already mentioned pros, so I will not spend much time here because I just want to say this is at the heart of it. So when you develop your application, pro is the way that you start hinging on. You get a lot of value from that. You have access to your additional packages, security maintenance of those packages. You can enroll your own packages. The moment you have a pro on your device, the benefit is that if you have another open source package that we do not maintain today, there is an option for you to submit that, and we do security maintain that open source package for you. So if the list is something today, the list is not finite, you can add additional packages that you want us to maintain for you to fully secure your solution. But again, Pro was already mentioned, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide. I will talk a bit more about certification. I did mention it before. So what does certification do is that when we enable Ubuntu on new hardware, we want it to behave as Ubuntu. And we call it certification. So it's something fairly well described, I would say, on Intel, because Intel is x86 in general, is very standardized platform, so you know it's going to behave in a certain way. Now, we are trying to bring that experience to ARM as well. So it's when we say something is certified, we mean by that, A, it behaves like Ubuntu. We onboard the platform in a way that we are confident we can maintain that for the time of LTS, for that 10 plus 2 years. So we will spend significant time onboarding it. And once it's in, we can do that commitment that what I mentioned before. We have 2+2 CV patching for the kernel. We do regression testing. When something is certified, that means there is a sample of that hardware, actually not one, 6, somewhere in our Taipei lab, and every time we release new kernel, we run the regression test against that hardware. So now that hardware is there, so it's not like that it has access to the patches and it has access to the security fixing. It means somebody actually tested it on that hardware and it's still functioning. We didn't break it. Because Linux kernel, it's a vast space. You have probably thousands of drivers there today. So the permutations are endless and nobody can test everything. So what we do is we test it on that hardware that we know is certified. And once it has that stamp certified, it is there for the 10 years. And every 2 weeks there is a regression running against it. It enables you also that once something is certified, we can do what we call derivative enablement. Say, I like this hardware, but I actually need not 6-port switch, I need 8-port switch. You replace one component, we call the derivative, and we can start testing that for you. But you are not anymore onboarding the whole platform, you are onboarding just that delta from it, because we already did the heavy lifting before. And because now it's certified and behaves as proper Ubuntu, you get access to things like NVIDIA containers and all other features. So all the virtualization, container functionality, everything is just working there because we are testing it. So how do you get to the certified hardware? So for that, we have two approaches. So one is the ODM program, We call that low touch, where you talk to your Advantech, Eon, etc., your partners, and say, I really like this hardware from you. Can you please certify it for me? I'm going to run Ubuntu on it. And the partner contacts us. They do the enablement. They submit us the patches. And we enroll it into our farm. So it's certified. We start testing it. So that's what we call low touch, because most of the heavy lifting is done by our partners, and they really submit us just the patches that our team will review carefully. Here we are promoting upstreaming first. So if you bring your hardware watchdog, we would prefer if you actually upstream the driver. We will backport it into the existing kernel that we support. But by having a confidence that that has been accepted by upstream community, we know that it has a certain stamp of quality, and we can now support it. And obviously, once it's upstream, we can also, it gets a security maintenance, so we can always pull back the CVEs for that component from upstream if needed. So that's a low touch, as we call it, low touch. So that's your ODM. And that's typically like, I want 100 gateways, I want 1,000 gateways. But then you might think, hold on, I might really need more than that. I'm going to do 10,000 devices or more, and I really need my bespoke design. So that's what we call high touch. It's velvet glove, whichever way you call it. And that's when you engage with somebody like me or somebody else from our team, and we will guide you through the process that we will work with you, and we will enable your specific hardware to get it into that certification lab, and your hardware to be maintained for the time of LTS. And we do even more than that, because we can decide, hey, we're going to do midlife uplift, and you can go for 20 years or more. And that's when we have dedicated team on our side working with your team, onboarding your BSP, your custom drivers into our pipeline, reviewing them. We quite often do full audit on that to make sure that there is no surprise. We have people pulling drivers from GitHub, and we're telling them, are you sure that the user is still maintaining it? Is he going to be there in 5 years? He probably quit the job. So we will audit whatever you give us before we onboard it. Again, we might seem like a bit demanding, but when we onboard it, we have a commitment. We're going to run for that for 10 plus years. So that's that velvet glove. When you want really your bespoke chip down design, we have you covered. And then we have the professional services, the third pillar for this. So that's helping you from the very early stages. We will do proof of concept for you. We will do rapid prototyping on your hardware, so you see how it's running, how Ubuntu is behaving on it. We will do hardening for you. We will do training. And we have our snap store stories, so we can build with you Ubuntu Core on it. We can help you to snap your applications, port them to the snaps, run them as a snaps. And of course, there is various options for the snap store. Do you want to have it as a private brand store, on-prem services, and really hardening all the way to the deployments like critical infrastructure. Now, once you get that, you went through the either low touch, high touch, you get your device certified. What does that give you in return? Joe mentioned the Cybersecurity Resilience Act coming from EU. You have different regulatory industries, they have different demands. The moment you onboard it and you get this standardized Ubuntu and it behaves as Ubuntu, you get those things covered out of the box, because now it's not your operating system that you're trying to certify your Yocto or your own distribution that you cooked up in a shed. Now it's Ubuntu, and you get all this out of the box, because we are certifying that. We're working with the authorities to make to meet the Cyber Resilience Act and so on. So you get all of that out of the box. So now you don't have to worry about that. That's more tick box exercise for you, because you onboard it on your hardware, standard Ubuntu. We run it through our certification lab, and we know it's Ubuntu, and we can maintain it. So we, for example, know that we can give you that guarantee of security updates for 10 years. So at that point, you don't have to worry about those points yourself. And now I'm going to move to the third one. So what do we bring in AI? So how can we help you to deploy AI? So the likelihood is that you already using Ubuntu, potentially without knowing it, in AI. So let's see like what us as a Canonical and Ubuntu as a OS can bring you, and how can we smoothen the journey for you. So what are the challenges? The challenges of people skills. Probably average embedded skill is not really aligned with the AI expert. It's still fairly new, so you have a skill gap there. Data centers, it's more distributed, so a lot of people from the data center that are actually more familiar with the AI skills, they don't really understand some of the challenges of AI, how you have devices somewhere in a field, potentially. Think of it as in a cabinet on a street that somebody can kick open and start debugging what's happening on that hardware. So that's one thing. You have a people challenge. You have operation challenges. So high availability. It's really different maintenance needs. So how do you scale? You cannot really, hey, I need more power. Let's just kickstart another instance. Doesn't work in Edge, right? You have to really plan. So those are another challenges that you cannot just expect from the data, from the DC people, that they can know that. So another thing is architecture. So most of the stuff on the edge, now we are more and more using ARM. Before, everything would be x86. Now on the edge, more and more you have smaller boxes, ARM boxes, and with ARM being more powerful, you're getting also more even deployments on ARM for more powerful deployments, and AI quite often running on ARM. Then you have the life cycle, management of the life cycle, so really technology. So how do I update those models? Now I deploy the models on my edge. How do I update them? How do I deploy the updates? How do I make sure that things don't break? How do I maintain that fleet management? So how can I optimize that? So this is really here where you can see how Ubuntu runs for you from cloud to edge. As I mentioned before a few times, it's very likely that you're already using Ubuntu in your cloud. If you're doing anything AI, your training, everything, it's very likely that you're probably using some container technology. You are most likely already running on cloud. We have the technology to accelerate you there. So that's really the MLOps platform. Then you see here in the middle is really what Ubuntu Pro and all that vast maintenance, different packages adds you. I mentioned it before about the Pro is the security LTS for FOSS packages. So if you have another dependencies that we do not maintain today, there is that option that you can onboard more packages for maintenance, and we do maintain them, so you get its stability and security maintenance long term. And then it's really the deployment at the edge. So let's say if you start deploying your models as a snaps, you have all the distribution. We have Snap Store for you. It's branded, so it's protected. It's a private enclosure for you. We have all the options from having it as a SaaS to being on-prem. I mentioned that we deploy snaps in a critical infrastructure, energy grids. So really, we help you there to tailor the solution for you, like for your needs. Do you want to run it yourself, or we run it for you? We have a fleet management. Michael will talk later about the landscape support for you. With snaps, you get this automatic life cycle. Really, what we support through the store, phase updates where you only update 10% of your fleet, automatic healing where things break and system can roll back to the previous version because we always keep the previous version there. So you really get this updated experience with snaps versus traditional apt packaging. And then, of course, if you deploy with Ubuntu Core, you get additional benefits, like you get out-of-the-box full disk encryption. On every Ubuntu Core, pretty much since 2004, you get encryption at rest, secure boot. We We use TPM on x86 or UEFI systems. We use trusted execution environments on every ARM system. So it's really hardened system that all of those things are just tick box exercise for you. You don't have to worry about, hey, now I have my Yocto. Okay, I need to think about a full disk encryption. I need to think about that. It's all just there. You only concentrate on deploying, training your models, deploying them, and not worrying about operating system. And this is really just recap of what I was talking about. So Ubuntu is native for NVIDIA. It's properly native, so it's real Ubuntu. The experience is backed by Canonical and NVIDIA jointly, and you get a security maintenance out of the box, and it's a professional solution backed by NVIDIA and suggested by NVIDIA. Ubuntu helps you. It's really tailored for IoT. We've been doing now Ubuntu Core for over, well, we'll be doing it 8 years, over 8 years. So you get really Ubuntu tailored for IoT. You get a Pro, you get a certification. So we help you to have your hardware backed up by us and maintained by us. In the end, what that helps you is time to market. You don't have to worry about porting your OS, worrying about the hardware. You can leave that to us. You really concentrate on developing your applications. And ready for Edge AI. So you can deploy your models as a snaps. You get the whole story of deploying the snaps. You have some of those models can be large in size. So for example, Snap offers you tricks like Delta updates. So you are not always downloading the whole package or the whole model. You only download whatever is difference between what you have and what you want to download. And of course, you always, the one thing I didn't mention before, but it's you tapping on that vast Ubuntu ecosystem. And I still remember one of our partners told me, I really love our Yocto, but every time somebody comes with something new, they do it on Ubuntu. And now I'm porting OpenVINO on Yocto to, yesterday I was doing Docker, and I'm really getting tired of it because I'm running this cat and mouse game and I'm always on the losing side. So with Ubuntu, all of those things, you get it out of the box. Remember, if you go and search on Google, how do I fix this on Linux? 8 out of 10 times, it's probably, this is how you fix it on Ubuntu. And that's all. Thank you. Any questions?
Actually, I have a question that is political in nature, so if you don't answer, I would understand. As Jetpack is a derived distribution of Ubuntu, why is NVIDIA still spending specifically on Jetpack? Why don't they just, what does it exist in the first place?
It's a good question. Especially when they actually, I think it was the last GTC, when they said, if you want to go for production, go with Ubuntu. They actually spell it out there. So it's a good question. I think it's one of those things like, in open source, you still have to do something to be neutral. But it's like you get a reference platform from likes of NXP and so on. They always TI, they will tell you, this is the reference. But if you go for production, it's your problem. So here, I think what NVIDIA did is, here is a Jetpack, do your prototyping development, but if you want to go for production, we also prepared jointly with Canonical a ready solution that you don't have to own the productizing of Jetpack yourself. You can go with Ubuntu, and we already jointly productize it. So it's more like, rather than thinking, why do they have that? It's more like the others only give you DIY solution, and NVIDIA decided we want to give you DIY and professional solution. I know it's not exactly what you asked, but
That's fine. No, it's political. So
yeah.
I don't know if it's the same like in Java, where you have Oracle Java and you have OpenGDK.
Yes.
And so you have the open source, you can go with OpenGDK, but if you want support, you go with Java.
Yeah, but the difference is I can get Ubuntu for free as well, if I want.
I don't think so.
Ish. Like
No, without the support.
yes, yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, Pro is, for example, it's a paid service, so you don't get Pro, so yeah.
No, I understand that. I understand the support, the question.
Yeah.
Prototyping.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.